So the next part of our module is the process value analysis. Okay, so when we say PVA or process value analysis, this is fundamental to the application of our activity-based responsibility accounting. Okay, why is that so? Because PVA is focused on the accountability for activities rather than the costs. Okay, because here we are looking into the process value. Okay, so meaning to say, just like what we have mentioned in the first video lecture, okay, about the relationship between ABM and ABC. Okay, so in analyzing the for the cost reduction, we always consider those activities or economic activities which are value adding. So this is what PVA actually is all about. Okay, that's why um, it is uh, normally uh, focused and is applied to accountability, responsibility, or accountability for activities rather than costs. So here, it also emphasizes the maximization of system-wide performance instead of the individual performance. Because here, when we say process, it's composed of different steps performed by the different workers, for example, in a certain area of responsibility or segment or division. So that's why the process value is uh, considered to be system-wide performance. Okay, so PVA also moves activity management from a conceptual basis to operational basis. Okay, so because in this case, not all conceptual based activities are efficient. Okay, so normally the management should look into how well it is applied in the operation, in the actual operations. Okay, so that's why um, there are steps or activities that might be eliminated that are included in the conceptual basis, because when performing it in the actual operations, it does not give value or add value, okay, to the product or services. So your PVA or process value analysis also is concerned with driver analysis, activity analysis, and performance measurement. Okay, so first for the driver analysis. So in this case, the management should define the root causes of the activities, the cost, okay, and other related uh, concerns. So managing activities requires an understanding of what factors cause the activities to be performed and what causes those activities uh, cause those activity costs to change. So this is very important because the management can see here what are the important and value adding activities that they should retain, or what are the economic activities that they should eliminate, and to also reduce the overall costs. So here, um, we all know that activities consume inputs, or what we know as the resources. So this will be processed and the product will be the outputs or finished goods. So here, an activity output measure is the number of times the activity is performed. Okay, so this is one of their analysis that they can do, okay, to determine, okay, the cost drivers as well. So activity output measure. So it's like measuring the efficiency, okay, of using the inputs to produce the outputs. Okay, so driver analysis also is quantifiable. It should be quantifiable and be measured in terms of output. So the output that they measure will calculate the demands that is placed on an activity and as an activity driver. So this is how the management could usually determine the root cause, okay, and define those activities which are performed, why they are performed, and how well they are performed. Okay, so as the demands for an activity change, of course, its cost will also change. Okay, so this is true if, especially the cost is directly um, coming from, okay, those activities. Okay. However, output measures or these activity drivers may not and usually do not correspond to the root cause of activity costs. So, meaning to say, it's not all the time that they are related. Rather, they are consequences of the activities, or these are just the outcome, okay, because of those activities, and not just uh, its root cause actually. Okay, so the management should clearly define, okay, and pinpoint the difference between such so that they will be able to efficiently analyze those root causes. Okay, so the purpose of the driver analysis is to reveal the root cause. This is its purpose, why the management should do this type of analysis. So the driver analysis is the effort expended to identify those factors that are the root causes of those activity costs. So again, the point here is that they should know the cause so that they will be able to eliminate it along with its cost, if possible. So once the root cause is known, then the action can be taken to improve. So that's what we are talking about. Elimination of non-value adding activities. Okay. So the next uh, it's so the next dimension for the PDA is activity analysis. Okay, so we are through with the driver analysis. What about activity analysis? So here, it will identify and assess the value content. Okay, so this is the process of identifying, describing, and evaluating the activities of the organization. So it should produce four outcomes. So for doing this active or analysis, we should have the following outcomes. Number one, the management should know what activities are performed, how many people perform the activities, okay, uh, the time and resources required to perform the activities, and an assessment of the value of the activities to the organization. So this should include the recommendation to select and keep only those that add value. So those are the intended outcome of doing the activity analysis. For this analysis, the activities can be classified, okay, as what we have mentioned for how many times already. So it should be classified as to if they are value adding or non value adding activities. Okay, when we say value added activities or value adding activities, these are activities that are necessary to remain in the business. Okay, so they are very important part of the process because it adds value to the customer and to the product or to the service. So these value added activities contribute to, as mentioned, customer value, and or it helps meet an organization's needs as well. Okay, so activities that comply normally with legal mandates, they are part or included or classified as value added because they exist to meet organizational needs. Okay, if they are not present, then meaning to say the organization do not comply with legal mandates. So the consequence of this is it might be closed, okay, by the proper authority. So that's why this activity should be kept and are classified as value added, okay, because they meet the organizational needs. Because value added activities also add to customer value. This is by allowing the business to continue to operate so that the products and services can be obtained and produced. Okay, so this is how you describe value adding activities. So once value added activities are identified, so the management can now define the value added costs. Okay, so of course, value added activities comes along with it the value added costs. So these costs are costs to perform those activities with perfect efficiency. What about non-value adding activities? So they are considered, of course, the opposite of value adding activities. So they are unnecessary and are not valued either by internal or external customers. So often, non-value adding activities fail to produce a change in the state or those that replicate work because it wasn't done correctly in the first time. Okay, so unnecessary cost and activities. So they are costs that are caused either by non-value added activities or the inefficient performance of other value added activities. Okay, so what are the examples of non-value added activities? So they are your scheduling, moving, waiting, inspecting, and storing. So these are activities that are performed. It has cost associated with it to perform these activities. However, it does not add value to the customer or to the product or to the organization. Okay. So therefore, assessing the value content of activities would enable managers to eliminate those non-value adding activities to reduce the costs. Okay, so of course, cost reduction follows the elimination of waste. Okay, so the next uh, dimension is assessing activity performance. Okay, so here, activity performance measurement is designed, of course, to determine how well an activity was performed and thus the results achieve its intended objectives. Okay, so it also measure the activity performance for both financial and non-financial and center on three dimensions. Number one, efficiency is concerned with the relationship of activity outputs to activity inputs. Okay, and cost trending downward is evidence that efficiency is improving. So this is one way of analyzing if the activity is performed well. Second is quality. So this is concerned with doing the activity right the first time. Okay, so if the activity output is defective, then the activity may need to be repeated, which causes unnecessary cost and reduces efficiency. Okay, the third dimension is the time. Measures to performance tend to be non-financial. So this is the time required to perform an activity. So normally, there are required time needed for one activity or process to be finished. So determine if they follow the schedule. Okay, so those are uh, the concepts under our process value analysis.